Jussie Smollett has been convicted, has been found guilty on 5 counts. So Kyle Rittenhouse, innocent. Jussie Smollett, guilty.
Dang.
Now, I understand, it looked bad for Jussie. It definitely looked bad. However, it's the standard of proof is supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And I don't know, I lived in Chicago for 5 years, 4 years, almost 5 years, and there were all kinds of murders and shootings that went completely unanswered. And so for me, I just feel a way about this black man being brought before a jury. I feel like it was excessive prosecutorial charges that were brought to him, and being convicted in an environment where we have white nationalists running rampant and getting away with murder, literally. I'm not saying that Jussie, if he is, he's been convicted, but I'm not saying, you just let black people do whatever. But all I'm saying is it just stings a little bit more when you see a person who has gunned down 3 people and murdered 2 of them walk away. Now he's doing his press tour like he's some sort of celebrity. And yet a black man who maintains his innocence, by the way, has now been convicted guilty on 5 counts. Dr. Carr, your reaction to the Jussie Smollett verdict?
I mean, I'll say it again, I'll keep saying it. This isn't a nation. So it happens that the United States of America occupies most of the North American continent, but we're talking about a white nationalist judge and legal system in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a settler colonial bunch of hunter paddle roller cowboys in Southern California, amped up on a field of violence in terms of the idea of law enforcement. And I agree, we do need some form of public safety. I think policing as a concept can't be fixed. Public safety might be the option. But what we see today in Chicago is perhaps the closest we might get to a question of all human beings being involved in deliberating, applying the law to the facts, and letting the chips fall where they may. A black prosecutor, remember Kim Foxx, they expended resources in Chicago. I think the tragedy is that if that had been in the previous story, Southern California, then perhaps Jussie Smollett, who ostensibly engaged in this behavior because of fear as a result of his sexual orientation and having been harassed and threatened, might literally have been a subject of violence at the hands of the police, at least if we take what they were saying out there at their word, and I do at their word. But in Chicago, whatever his motivation was for doing this, if in fact he did indeed do it, it led him to an act of ostensible desperation that has now seen a jury prosecutors, as you say, it may be overreach, or maybe we spent money. We could have been spending money trying to deal with these murders or other things, but we spent money on this, so now we're going to get the guy. And so finally, we will now see what the judge does, because while he might get 3 years, people are saying he might get suspended sentence and public service. So, I mean, perhaps now the verdict will lead to a lesson learned, because hate crimes are a real thing in this country. And we have to be very careful when, if you're desperate like that, bruh, we got to figure out how to surround you, but don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people obviously rallied to Jussie Smollett's defense when the horrific news came out. I mean, national politicians, celebrities, of course, regular people like us, supported him. I'm going to stick beside him. I don't care if guilty or not guilty verdict, I'm going to stick beside him. But the reality is, and you mentioned Kim Foxx, I mean, she was attacked relentlessly because she did not want to pursue charges. This was not a Kim Foxx decision to pursue these charges. In fact, they had actually worked out a deal to where, there were no charges that were going to be brought, and then they came back and decided to charge him anyway. So I definitely think that, this could have been handled a different way, but they wanted to make an example out of him. Faraji, the jury deliberated for 9 hours over 2 days. As Dr. Carr said, he's potentially facing 3 years in prison. Does the punishment potentially fit the crime that he's been convicted of?
This is a hard one. And here's the dilemma that I'm personally feeling in regards to this situation. The dilemma is, you see a black man, you don't want to see him go to prison, right? It's just that simple. You don't want to see a black man prosecuted for some craziness and some foolishness. But then the other side of the story is, he did this. I mean, he really did do this. Like, he really did set up a situation where he created this whole hoax. He's hired these brothers and the whole nine. He did this. So I think the worst part of it, and Dr. Carter, I think this is one of the big points that you were talking about as well as you, Reese. I think the worst part of it is that it struck on so many levels in terms of the hate crime, him being black, him being gay, and I mean, it's just not something to play with. Even in 2019, when this incident happened, President Trump was still in office. Like, it just wasn't the right time. And I think it was absolutely selfish for him to take the extreme measure that he took to bring this whole thing together. And then you want public sympathy. And you want the people to rally around you. And it's like, bruh, and I may be wrong, Reese, and Dr. Carr, but I read that he did this because he was trying to get a pay raise. You know what I mean? Like, he felt like he wasn't being appreciated by Fox and Empire and all of that. And it's like that level of selfishness. Our people are already dealing with so many things right now. Black members of the LGBTQIA community, black folks in general, we're already dealing with so many things right now. The last thing we need is somebody to take something very, very serious like a hate crime and then create a showcase around it. So that way, the next person who has a legitimate crime being committed against them, how do we know that in Chicago, they might not say, oh, this could be a Jussie Smollett situation?
Well,
how do we don't know. We don't know.
True, but
that's the risk that we're taking with this.
But we know, as Black people in America, it takes an excessive and exorbitant amount of trauma to be paraded on video just to be believed in the first place. And so I don't think that Jussie Smollett's, whatever you want to call it, his situation, although if he is in fact guilty, he's been convicted, I'm gonna stick beside him, he's innocent as far as I'm concerned. But even if he did do it, I will say this, the country has moved on from the January 6th insurrection. And that just happened in 2021. So I think that we can all move on from a 2019 incident that may or may not have been a hoax. But
all right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
the video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?